When I was a kid, every fall, my parents would drop me off at a barn for a barn party with my church. We had a very large children's program, and it was a great thing I look forward to every year, especially for the centerpiece of the barn party, which was this very large three-dimensional hay maze in the middle of the barn. And it was great because of my still held philosophy that high risk equals high fun. These things were dangerous. And I knew they were dangerous. I had experienced it from previous years, but first of all, they're dark, unless if you have a flashlight, but even then, it doesn't get you very far. It's dusty. You can barely breathe. It's quiet. You can't hear much past the room that you're in, right where you are. And there's holes everywhere. You'll just be walking on if you don't have a flashlight, and they just like designed pits like 5 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot deep that you'll just fall into and then have to figure out how to get out. And that's not even the worst thing. The worst thing is that sometimes there's like flaws in the structure, or the structure is coming apart, and there's like crevices. And if you go into one of those, I don't know where you go. Thankfully, I never found out. But there was one year where there was something worse than any of that, because it was this one it was a section of the maze that was about the length of a small child, and it was about a foot tall and about 2 feet wide. And when I saw it, I couldn't believe that that was possibly the way I thought it was a crevice, but it truly was. And I thought it was like a mistake they're gonna have to fix. And I didn't think that I was gonna be able to get through it. I thought I was gonna get stuck. But I did it the first time. I got inside of it, and it took like a lot of effort, but I got through it. I got to the other side. And from that point, I was like, okay, I know I can do it, and it's not that big of a deal. I was still upset about it, but it's like, whatever. This maze was still fun. There's this one game that they always put on in the hay mazes every year, which was the hiding the flashlight game. The older kids and the adults would go through the maze, and they would hide a bunch of flashlights, and then the kids would go in and like find them. And this year they were doing that, and they were taking forever to hide the flashlights. And outside at the mouth of the cave, a large crowd of kids were forming, because we were very impatient. This is like the highlight of the barn party, is the hay maze, and they're just shutting it down for like a whole hour just because they want to hide flashlights really well. So we're just like wanting to get in, and the lady who's like guarding the door, not letting anybody go in, is like getting impatient as well. She's like, they're taking so long. We're starting to get worried that maybe they're stuck in there or something. And so eventually she lets the floodgates open, and all of us kids go pouring in all at once, back to back. And of course, when you're in a line like that, there's going to be traffic, especially right away. So we're like stop and go, and it's like very crowded. You can't really, your movement is restricted by the people immediately in front of you and immediately behind you. But you're like, if you're stopping, it's like brief, of course. But of course, when I get to the thin part, right when I'm at that thin part is when it stops, and it does not start again. So I'm there in the foot tall, the 2 feet wide section, and I'm just like, okay, like, don't panic. Like, yes, you can't move at all. Yes, you can barely breathe. Yes, you can't see or hear anybody, but it's fine. It's temporary. The traffic is going to be moving again. What I didn't know is at the front of the line had reached the people hiding the flashlights. And the people who were hiding the flashlights said, "We're not ready. You have to go back." How are we going to go back? You can't talk to the people, 3 people behind you, let alone the people at the back of the line. This church did not track the brightest tools in the shed. But nevertheless, they were insisting that they go back. And I could not communicate with anybody. If the people immediately right behind me or in front of me said something, they would have to scream it for me to make out what words they were saying. People next beyond that, they would have to be screaming just for me to know that they're there. I had like no awareness of what was going on around me. But I was like, it's fine. Like, do not panic. Like, this has to be safe. This is a kids' church event, And so I was like thinking this, telling myself this, but the kids around me were not faring so well. They were already panicking. At first, they were just like annoyed. They're like saying, "Move, move, move." But eventually, it went from annoyance to desperation, because they were also trapped in some way. And they were like screaming to move, move, move. And eventually I had to scream too. I was also freaking out. And so I started screaming, "Move, move." And what was I met with? "Go back. Go back. I can't go back." So I start screaming at the people behind me, "Go back." And they're like, "Move." So I'm going back to the people in front of me saying, "Move." And nothing is happening. Nothing is being communicated. No change is going on. And there's this one girl who has who's lost it way more than anybody else, which is so real. It's so final girl. But in that moment, oh my God, she started climbing over people to get out of the maze. And she saw me in that hole stuck there, fighting for my life, and she did not slow down. She kept going. So my tunnel went from this to this. And it was bad. I was full on panic. Y'all ever hear of Nutty Putty Cave? It was really, there's this other fact about high risk, high fun, which is that at some point the risk becomes a stark reality, and then you have to deal with that. But thank God for this final girl, because I think she completed her mission. She made it all the way back to the back of the line, and she told them, like, hey, we have to go back. And eventually the line did leave the maze in the wrong direction. The flashlight people never let us through. And I made it out. I saw light that I thought I'd never see again. I developed a permanent allergy for dust, and also a lifelong fear of Santa Claus.